We think of our blood type as just this medical thing, right? A, B, O, positive, negative. But what if I told you it's actually a secret diary, a story of human history, evolution, and survival, written right into our very cells? Well, today we're going to crack that code.
Yeah, it really is. It's a clue to where your ancestors came from, the diseases they battled, and even the kinds of food they ate. All right, so let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, we got to cover the basics. What actually makes your blood type A or B or O? Well, it all comes down to a tiny little identifier on your red blood cells.
So, picture this. On every single one of your red blood cells, there's a little ID badge called an antigen. These are just molecules that tell your immune system, hey, I belong here. If your cells have the A antigen, you're type A. If they have the B antigen, you're type B. Got both? You're AB. And if you've got neither, you're type O. Sounds simple enough, right? But hold on, because that's only half the story.
The other piece of the puzzle is that plus or minus sign. That refers to a totally different antigen called the RHD factor. If you've got it, you're positive. If you don't, you're negative. And it's the combination of all of these ID badges that creates the 8 main blood types. And that is what tells this incredible story about where we all came from. So let's start with the most common blood groups on the planet. And these aren't just common by chance. Their dominance has literally shaped human health across the entire globe.
Just take a look at this chart. You can see right away how just a few types make up, well, almost everyone. The vast majority of the world's population has one of these 4 types. So let's start with the biggest one of all, a blood type with some really surprising strengths and weaknesses.
That's right. O positive. It's the single most common blood type in the world. It flows through the veins of roughly 4 out of every 10 people on Earth. Think about that. Now, what's so fascinating here is that type O is a story of evolutionary trade-offs. I mean, medically, it's a powerhouse. You can give it to any patient who has a positive blood type. And for our hunter-gatherer ancestors, it offered a real edge, like better resistance to severe malaria. But on the flip side, that very same structure, that lack of A or B antigens, seems to make it an easier target for nasty stuff like cholera and norovirus. It also tends to have lower levels of blood clotting factors, which can be good or bad depending on the situation. All right, next up we've got A positive, the second most common blood type. And this one, wow, it tells the story of one of the biggest changes in how humans live. So get this, the explosion of type A blood is tied directly to when we started farming. As people settled down into these dense agricultural communities, they got exposed to all sorts of new germs. Well, the A antigen seems to have given people a stronger immune defense against some of those bacterial infections. But just like with type O, it's a trade-off. That same supercharged immune response is also linked to a higher risk of blood clots. Okay, moving on to B positive. It's not as common as O or A, but its journey around the world is basically a roadmap of how our ancestors moved across the globe. You find type B popping up most often in parts of Asia and the Middle East, and you can literally trace the great migrations of ancient peoples by following its path. It's a perfect example of how our blood is a living record of our movements. Some studies even suggest that people with type B blood might process carbs and fats a little differently, which could be an adaptation to different regional diets over thousands of years. And that brings us to the last of the positive types. And it's both the rarest and the youngest kid on the block, AD positive. This one has a superpower. It's called the universal recipient. Because its red blood cells have both A and B ID badges, its immune system sees both as friendly. That means it can take red blood cells from any donor, any of them. It's incredible to think about, but AB positive is brand new, evolutionarily speaking. It only showed up a few thousand years ago when populations with type A and type B started to mix and have kids. They're a living example of genetic blending. And while they have that amazing advantage in getting blood transfusions, they also seem to share type A's higher risk for some clotting issues. But remember that plus or minus sign? Well, that's where the really rare stuff comes in. All right, so we've talked about the big players. Now let's get into the rare ones. The Rh-negative blood types might be scarce, but in medicine, their value is, honestly, off the charts. And they're kind of an evolutionary mystery. And at the top of that list, you've got O-negative. In any emergency room, this blood type is basically gold.
See, because it's missing all three of those ID badges we talked about, A, B, and the Rh factor, anyone's body will accept it. No immune reaction. So when a patient is rushed in and there's no time to figure out their blood type, O negative is the universal lifesaver. The strange thing is, being Rh negative can create complications during pregnancy if the mother is negative and the baby is positive. Scientists are still trying to figure out why this trait has stuck around despite that risk.
And believe it or not, it gets even rarer from there. You've got A negative and B negative found in just tiny slivers of the population. Their donations are unbelievably valuable. And then you have the holy grail of rarity, AB negative. Less than half of 1% of people have it. But here's the twist. While their red blood cells are the rarest, their blood plasma is the exact opposite. It's universal and can be given to anybody. So when you put all these pieces together, what's the big picture? Well, it's that these blood types aren't just random letters. They are a living history book of our ancestors' journey through time. This timeline basically lays it all out for us. Way back in our deep past, type O was the dominant type, perfect for the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Then something huge happened. We started farming, and type A became more common, offering protection in those crowded new settlements. After that, type B emerged, spreading with human migrations, and finally, the modern type AB appeared as all these different groups started to come together. It's the whole story of human civilization told in 4 letters. There's this quote from one of the sources we looked at that just nails it. Blood types are more than transfusion categories. They are evolutionary fingerprints reflecting how humans adapted to different environments over thousands of years. Your blood type isn't just a medical note in a file, it's a fingerprint left behind by evolution itself. So it doesn't matter if you're O positive, like billions of other people, or that super rare AB negative. You are carrying a piece of our collective human history inside you. It's a story of survival, of movement, and of the incredible ways our bodies have changed to keep us going. It's this incredible legacy, right there, inside you. And it really makes you wonder, as we humans keep changing and facing new challenges, how will our blood types keep evolving? What story will they tell about us thousands of years from now?